Hello friends, welcome to today's daily devotion. I'm Kerry Wood, pastor of the Goldston Methodist Church, and this is the daily devotion series called The Domino Effect, as we look at Paul's letter to the church in Colossae and the Christians of that church, and he is giving us domino after domino, bigger and bigger and bigger, to help us understand just how big God really is in his love. Today we're looking at two verses, Colossians 1:19 and 20. But I'm going to invite you to buckle your seatbelt because this, my friends, is huge. Hear now these words. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, meaning Jesus. And through him, meaning Jesus, to reconcile to himself, meaning God, all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. I'm going to say that first phrase again, and then I want you to pause this video, and I want you to say it to yourself out loud so your own ears hear you saying it. Here we go. God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him. Did you pause the video? Did you say it to yourself? Here's one more chance. God put his fullness into Jesus. It's sometimes easy for us to think about Jesus being God, but not so much God being Jesus. Jesus is a human being, and he didn't look any different than any other human being. He didn't look different than me. He didn't look different than you. The goodness of godness was put into humanness. Now, next time you're in a crowd, look around that crowd and see if you can see God anywhere. It's not easy for us to do. We can see Jesus as God transcending up. And that's the interesting thing about humanity, is that we want to be bigger. We want to be more powerful than we actually are. That, I think, is why our superhero movies have been such a big thing over these last several decades. Who doesn't want to be able to be Spider-Man or Iron Man or Superman or any other of the superheroes that we've been watching in movie theaters and on our televisions? We want to be supreme. We want to have power. Yet, look what God does as the supreme being. He doesn't use sovereignty as power. He uses sovereignty as love. We want to control, but we don't need to control. We need to love. God's fullness dwelt in the human Jesus, so that when the human Jesus went to the cross, he reconciled everything to him. The superpower isn't coercion. The superpower is reconciliation. God chose to give you and me the chance, the opportunity, the grace to be like Jesus. Here's where you need your seatbelt. If the fullness of God is in the human Jesus, and if Jesus has reconciled all things on earth and in heaven to him, making peace through his blood, then here it is. The fullness of God can be in you and me. the fullness of God can be in us. Reconciling the world to God is within our capabilities. That's what we are asked to do. So are you doing it? Are you engaged in this great and glorious work? Are you able to share the love of God with other people around you? Sharing this Devo might be just one way to start a new conversation, a new engagement of reconciliation. God is pleased to have all His fullness dwelling in us. I told you you needed your seatbelt. And I'll see you tomorrow for our next daily devotion.